Hey, what's up guys? Brandon here, Legacy Group Real Estate Team. We have something we're going to be talking about today that I hope will be super important to you, but we will see. We have the Insider's Report from December. We are going to be talking about a couple things, but the 6 words of core financial literacy. We're going to be talking about just the asset classes. A few weeks ago we talked about just the different asset classes and who pays what tax rate and who's affected by the tax cuts and things like that. And it's something that, again, if you remember from that, if you recall from that, the E and the S, the employee, and the S, the small business owner, or SMART, which stands, is for accountants and doctors. That's generally, those are the asset classes that get hit the most, whether it's tax cuts, tax increase, whatever it is. It actually doesn't matter. They're usually the ones, because they have the least flexibility, the least amount of flexibility when it comes to taxes and what you can do and what you can invest in, what you can invest in. That's why the E and the S the B and the I are so important. The B and the I are so important because this is where the least amount of taxes are paid, because they're using the tax law to their advantage. They're doing what the government wants. The tax code is it's a series of incentives for people, and all of us have the same opportunity. Jeff Bezos, over here, or Sam Walton, someone who has a huge, massive business. We have the same opportunities that they do. We have the same tax code. We play by the same tax code. So they just chose to take advantage of it. You have investors here, like Warren Buffett's in both of these. He's an investor, he's a big business owner. So they have the same advantages we do. We have the same advantages they do. They have the same 24 hours in the day that we do. So it's just how do you utilize it? And that's why I want to talk about the 6 words of core financial literacy, because this is most people, again, an E and an S, they generally look at the income and expense. A lot of people and I started before I really understood this. I was only looking at the income and expense, with just, what's kind of coming in, what's coming out. That's it, or it's commonly referred to as a profit and loss. So, people on this side, they're looking at a P&L. So you might have a P&L statement, something like that. But when you want to go to the B and I side, you want to be on the big business side or an investor, you're using all 6 of these words. When you're talking to lenders, or your bigger lenders or commercial lenders, you're talking to an accountant, they want all this. They want your assets and liabilities also. They want to know your cash flow. Which way is cash flowing? Because this just tells you, things coming in and out. It doesn't tell you accounts receivable and things going in and out. Assets and liabilities, this is super important, because this is where we get into investing in real estate, and we get into just really the premise of business. And it's funny because Robert Kiyosaki, again, one of my biggest mentors, he talks about he won't invest with anybody. He won't even look at their business plan when people come to talk to him about it. He won't invest or even look in their plan if they don't invest in real estate. So it's very interesting. He always talks about building a business, and he started here. Again, the code is written for all of us, right? He started here, and he basically went like this, and that was his flow. So he went like that, and he just kept increasing his knowledge, and he kept increasing and moving from quadrant to quadrant, and that's why he is where he is. That's exactly why he focuses on all these things. He always says, right, your report card is your report card. That's what matters in school. But your financial statement, and that's what this all is. This is your financial statement. This is what a banker wants to see. A banker wants to see your financial statement, because that's how, or a private lender or whatever it may be, they want to see your financial statement to see if these things all match up, if you know how to handle money. And that's why you have things like accredited investors. You have to make a certain amount of money a year, and then you're allowed to invest in, initial different, offerings and in public offerings and things like that, IPOs or things of that nature. So that's why this is so important to understand this, and why the rich get richer. That's the title of Kiyosaki's recent book is Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, and it's something that he consistently has been harping on for 20 plus years. And things like your house is not an asset. It really shook the world up. But again, in the recession, the Great Recession, we saw that. The house is, for the most part, unless it's rental real estate, the house is the bank's asset. It's not your asset. If you're paying on it, because the definition of an asset and a liability, an asset is something that's paying you each month. A liability is something that you're paying for each month. You're liable for that. An asset is something that's bringing you money each month. So that when you think of it in those terms, then you can start seeing and understand the vocabulary of what is what. Because your home, your personal residence is an asset. It's just whose asset is it? The bank is the one making the interest on it. They're the ones getting the payments and making the interest. So when you own rental real estate, then it changes. If you're making positive income, then it becomes an asset of yours. So it's all in the mindset. And this is something that's taken me, 8 years to really, pound into my head over and over and over again and think differently and talk differently. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and I know I'm going to be in 5 years, and 10, and 30 years. I am at the very early stages of that path. But the one thing I know I've done is I've changed my vocabulary. I've changed how I think. I've changed how I speak about things. I don't speak about money as money. It's currency. Fiat currency, paper dollars are currency. They're just being used as a current. It's not true money. True money is gold and silver. It's in the Constitution. It's in the Bible. You name it. Gold and silver is true money, and it's because it has all the properties of money, and that's why it is that way. So knowing these different words and the definitions of these are going to be so important to financial literacy. And truly, this is why I believe that so many people that's why we have so many problems in the country. We have so many people that are hurting and suffering, is because we have, we just don't have, we don't get taught this in school, in essence. We don't have a true understanding. And again, like I said, this is something I'm learning every single day, reading every single day, studying people, watching YouTube videos over and over and over again. I was just telling my wife, I was just telling a couple people, I watched a video, one of the hidden secrets of money that I was telling you guys about, which I'll try to throw a link in here also, of I think hidden secrets number 4. It talks about the currency, the monetary system, how our monetary system works. I had to watch that probably for 5 hours. Literally, it's like a 10 to 20 minute segment. Over the last couple of years, I probably watched it for, oh my gosh, a couple hours, at least, 2 or 3 hours minimum, probably 5 hours, maybe 10 hours. And it's really confusing. I'm not the smartest person in the world by any means. I had to slow it down. I was literally playing the YouTube video in slow motion, in half speed, so that way I could see the flow of things, even as a cartoon, and I could see exactly what was going on, and it made sense to me. And why this is something I'll break down here eventually as well. And it's, what happens in the Treasury and the Federal Reserve are printing money and actually creating currency out of thin air off of bank accounts and checking accounts that have no money, yet they're just popping into existence. And then ultimately, that's principal and interest that we owe back. So like our national debt, things like that. That's all the tax we pay goes to paying off money that the Federal Reserve and the biggest bankers in the world are just creating a profit. They're creating money and profiting off of it, because we're then paying the principal and interest off of that. So it's an incredible game that's set up, and I'm not going to say who it's set up for. I'll give you a hint. It's not set up for you or I. And that's what we'll get into as well. But for today, I wanted to stick with the financial statement and how we can begin to understand just the words of financial literacy and what they truly mean. Again, the dollar has lost 95% of its purchasing value since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. So it's something I just wanted to touch on, because people talk a lot about paper money or paper currency, and they talk a lot about money, gold and silver, and it's not that a good investment, this and that. You don't want to put your life savings in it, but having 10% in gold and silver, it's an insurance policy against your currency, against your money. And that's why it's so important. And again, if you measure the dollar over the last 100 years up against other things, it's lost 95% of its purchasing value. And really, truly, that's what it is. Gold and silver, for the most part, kind of stays the same. It's just gold and silver, right? It was this true money, so it is what it is. But depending on the value of the dollar, or the value of the fiat currency going up or down, that's what gives gold and silver some type of monetary value, or what we deem a monetary value. So again, it's heavy stuff, it's deep stuff. Like I said, I've taken hours just to watch the monetary. I hope that it's something that as we go along here, we've been doing the insiders reports and things like that for a number of years now, a couple years, and I hope we're getting better. I'm going to do a better job explaining things and really kind of breaking things down. And as I know, we get a lot of questions about it and a lot of people asking about it, which I really enjoy. I appreciate all of you and your time and energy, because I know it's the most important thing that you all have, but I hope I can bring it to you in a concise manner, and something that makes a little bit more sense and is a little bit more consumable than what a lot of what's out there, because it is very confusing. So I appreciate your time and energy. Because again, I love doing it and I love bringing it to you guys because it's something that's so important to me and it affects all of our lives. And if I can affect one person or help someone, then it really is all worth it. But again, these are the 6 words: income, expense. Most people focus on this: asset and liabilities, cash flow. When you get into becoming a true investor, a professional investor, which again, guys, this doesn't mean you have to be Sam Walton. This doesn't mean you have to be Jeff Bezos. This doesn't mean you have to be Warren Buffett. This doesn't mean you have to be, a massive investor. This just means behaving, and we talked about that last time too. Behaving like a big business owner and behaving like a true investor, a professional investor. And that means having a financial statement. That means understanding the definitions of these things. That means, when you have a company, incorporating it, things like that, talking to your accountants. That way you can get those things accomplished and done. So that way you're behaving like a big business. And then you start getting the tax benefits and you start getting the benefits of becoming and behaving like a big business. Even though you might not have 500 employees, you can still get a lot of the benefits of acting and behaving like a big business or behaving like a professional investor. And that's really the purpose of this. And again, most people focus on the P&L. Unfortunately, there's some people that don't even focus on that at all. And that was something that I had to learn, 7-8 years ago, to really, you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business, and your business is your life. Your business is your family. And some people have businesses on top of that. So some people have multiple businesses. So you have to be very wary of where you're going, what you're doing. You've got to know your numbers. And some people just focus on this instead of focusing on these 2 things. Because income really, when you kind of break it down, is just a job, in essence. It's just one, it's usually one form of one stream of income coming in a lot of times. And expenses, we have 1 million expenses, And then our assets, those are things paying us. So if you've got investing, if you're investing in rental property, things of that nature, then you're going to have different streams of income coming in. Your liability is, say, the mortgage. If you have a mortgage on those properties, that's a liability. But hopefully you've got more income coming in than you do paying out. And then the cash flow. Which direction is like we just touched on? Which direction is the cash flowing? Hopefully you have more income coming in than you do a liability getting paid out, and that means your cash flow is positive. Hopefully it's not a negative cash flow. So, again, I really appreciate you guys more than anything. We're going to break this down, like I said, more and more as we go along. And I really hope that we can make it consumable for you guys. That way it makes sense, and it makes more sense for me. I know you guys are a lot smarter than I am, so I think you'll get it faster than I will, because again, it's a tedious process at times. This isn't like the most fun subject in the world to talk about. It's fun once you start getting it and understanding it, but it affects all of us. That's why it's so important to me, and that's why I take such an interest in it, because one, I've got a business. It's my job to take care of my family, take care of my employees and my people, and take care of our clients and customers. And I don't always do the best job of making sure it's in the right order. I admit that. Sometimes my priorities are all over the place, but those are the 3 priorities. So I thank you for your feedback and everything. You guys have reached out and wanted to know. And again, we're gonna be breaking this down more and more and more. That way it makes more sense. Again, I've had a couple this week. I thank you so much for asking about questions and wanting to meet up and talk about stuff like this, because it's super important. It just is truly important. And if I can guide people in the right direction, the right path, and hopefully talk to some people that know a lot more than I do and guide you in those directions, then it's all worth it. So I appreciate you guys a ton, and we'll talk to you very soon.